So you're curious about birding, but maybe you're thinking, how do I start? What gear do I need? Or how do I even know what bird I'm looking at? And trust me, I've been there. Birding is the best hobby in the world, in my own opinion. And in this video, I'm going to share some of the lessons I've learned, mistakes I've made early on, and the exact steps you can take to go from a curious beginner to a confident bird. I've been birding for about 4 years now, and in that time, I've seen 554 species of birds, or about 5% of all the birds in the world. Let me walk you through the basics to help you learn birding the fast and easy way. Step 1 is to find birds. You can't identify birds if you don't find them first, so here's how to increase your chances. The first one is to use eBird. It's a free app or website that helps you see where birds are being seen near you right now. You can look up local hotspots to see what others are reporting and what species are being found. Also, go birding early. Morning is often the best time for birding because birds are most active, especially right after sunrise. And another tip is to move slowly. Birds are very susceptible to movement, especially when it's predators, so walking slowly can really help you find more birds, and especially if you're pausing every now and then, just scanning your surroundings. It's pretty easy to miss birds, so just take some time, pause every now and then, and go slowly and wait for the birds to reveal themselves. Another tip is to scan the skies and trees. Don't just look at eye level. Birds can be high up in the treetops or even soaring overhead. Also, listen first and look second. Most birds are easier to hear than see, so pay attention to chirps, trills, or rustling leaves and see what you can find. Step 2 is to identify birds. Okay, so now you've seen a bird, but what is it? Here's how to figure it out. First, download the Merlin Bird ID app. It's a free app that IDs birds by sound, photo, or a short quiz based on size, color, and behavior. That can be a great way to get started, but you're still going to need to narrow it down. So here's what you want to look for. Look at overall shape first. Is it tiny like a warbler, or chunkier like a dove, or long-legged like a heron? You want to kind of narrow this down and separate some birds out right away. Then you want to notice field marks. These are the birds like ID tags. They can be anything from eye rings to wing bars. You can look at bird's tail shape. That can often be really unique to the species. Also look at beak or bill size. Beak and bill is the same thing. I also want to look at beak color. You can also look for stripes and color patches on a bird. And then also pay some attention to a bird's behavior. Is it hopping on the ground or is it climbing tree trunks? You don't need a lot of gear to get started, but here's what helps. Binoculars. Binoculars are going to be your #1 tool for birding. You want a pair that is 8x42, or in other words 8 times magnification and then 42 millimeters long. This is the perfect ratio for most beginners, and I recommend the Celestron Trail Seeker ED 8x42s. They're about $350, so if you want something a little bit cheaper, you can get the Vortex Diamondbacks. I'll link up both those in the video description below for you to check out. You also might want a camera. It's totally optional, but very fun to try and get pictures of birds. Especially helpful if you want to review some photos later to identify, instead of just relying on your memory to remember what a bird looks like. You also might want a spotting scope. It's definitely not necessary to start, but super useful for identifying birds like ducks, shorebirds, or hawks. Common mistakes to avoid. Let's save you from a few early headaches. Here are some mistakes every beginner makes, including me. The first one is jumping to conclusions way too early. Don't assume it's a common bird or a rare bird just because of one thing. You want to look very carefully and use multiple field marks to separate them from other species. Another one is to base your entire ID off of color. Many birds' colors can change depending on lighting, age, and season. So let's say you see a yellow bird. Before you call it a goldfinch because it's yellow, you should consider the fact that there are over 80 species of yellow birds in the US alone. So as you can see, color can be pretty confusing. So instead of just using color, pay attention to some structural field marks such as tail shape, wing shape, just the overall size and look of a bird, and things like that. Another mistake is missing key field marks. Always check the tail, wings, and head. One small detail can completely change the identification. The next mistake is not comparing similar species. Some birds, like the black-capped chickadee and the Carolina chickadee, look nearly identical, so it always pays to do a little bit of research, especially when you're comparing similar species. There's an awesome website that I typically go to for comparisons, and that is allaboutbirds.org. If you type in any species and go to the comparison tab, they have a great comparison with side-by-side photos and descriptions to help you narrow them down. The next mistake is giving up too quickly. Not every identification will be instant. Some birds you'll identify after you've seen them, and also there will likely be some birds that you just won't ever figure out what they are. Another thing birders do is to keep a life list. A life list is one of the most satisfying parts of birding. It's pretty simple. It's simply a list of every bird that you've ever seen. You can also keep different lists, such as a yard list, which is birds seen at your home, state and county list, which is fun if you travel or bird locally, and then a year list, which is a great motivation to get out and bird every day. You can use eBird to track your sightings digitally, or you can go old school with a notebook. So now let's have a little fun, because once you're in the birding world, you'll notice some pretty quirky habits, such as going to garbage dumps or wastewater treatment plants. And here's why. Gulls and ducks love to hang out there, and they can be some great birding hotspots. Another pretty crazy thing birders do is to drive hours to see a rare bird. It's called rarity chasing, and it's really fun once you finally track down a bird. Here are some birding slang that you might hear. First one is FOY, and that stands for first of year. That's the first time that you see a bird in a calendar year. Another common one like FOY is FOS, and that stands for first of season. For example, the white-throated sparrow migrates south in the fall. So if you were to see a white-throated sparrow earlier the year in the spring, your white-throated sparrow in the fall would be the first of season. Another one that's quite common is a tick. That is just simply adding a bird to your list, whether that be a county list, a state list, or your life list. Another one that I use quite often is HO, and that stands for heard only. That means you only heard the bird, but you didn't see it. Another one is an armchair lifer. That's when a bird that you've already seen gets split into two different species, and so that gives you another lifer without you having to actually go see it. A mega is a super rare bird. That's the kind that people book flights for or drive halfway across the country to go see. Question of the day is, what's the biggest question you have related to birding? Put it in the comment section below, and I'd love to answer it as quick as possible. If this video helps you feel more confident about your birding journey, go ahead and tap that like button, as it helps more beginner birders find this video, and subscribe to Better Birders, because I created this channel just for you. Go ahead and check out this video right here where I walk you through Merlin Bird ID. It's a super helpful beginner app, and I highly recommend you check it out.